December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
The day after the Pearl Harbor attacks 82 years ago that changed the world as we know it and got a reluctant United States, anything but that, into World War II. That was then. The surprise attack is the stuff that has befuddled historians and so many experts since. We have seen other such attacks. Obviously, 9/11 comes to mind. But could any country pull off what Japan tried to pull off back then? I got the chance to catch up with historian and security expert Harry Kazianis, who has a great column in today's New York Post, where he talks about how China has been patiently waiting for the moment to do something that Japan did, but with a lot more preparation. Because if you think about it, Harry says, the Japanese really had months to prepare for this attack on Pearl Harbor, whereas the Chinese have been doing it for the better part of decades. Take a look. We might be thousands of miles away, but we wouldn't be gone militarily, and it would be a back and forth, the likes of which could be ruinous, something that was not the case at the time the Japanese risked going after us to preclude our involvement in the war. What do you think?
It would be the epic struggle of our time. I think China right now is an even greater threat than the Soviet Union. When you look, Neil, at just the military capabilities the Chinese have developed over the last 2 decades, they have stealth fighters, mainly because they stole F-35 and F-22 technology. They have aircraft carriers, powerful aircraft carriers, now almost 4. Reason why? They stole technology from a lot of military contractors from the United States. They're developing advanced submarines. They're basically stealing our blueprint of military superpower dominance and are trying to be able to use it against us if they could in a war.
All right, Dan Sullivan is joining us right now. Senator, what do you make of what he is laying out there? The possibility that the Chinese could do the modern day version of a surprise attack, but this time with a much more able and massive army, navy, you name it, to make it happen. It sounds ponderous when you hear it, but the way he went through the battle systems they've set up and how they could isolate us in that region if they wanted to take over Taiwan and beyond is a little scary.
Yeah, Neil, there's no doubt it's scary. And as a country, you know, we always have to be very vigilant for those kind of sneak attacks. I think his broader point, though, is exactly right on. In terms of the correlation of military forces, certainly in the Indo-PACOM region, it is now starting to dramatically favor China. China has the largest navy in the world, a huge air force. And what are we doing right now? The current Biden budget shrinks the Army, shrinks the Navy, and shrinks the Marine Corps. Next year's Biden budget will have us below 3% of GDP spending on defense. We've only been below 3% of GDP like four or five times, Neil, in the last 70 years. So we're going in the wrong direction. China is undertaking the largest peacetime military buildup in history, and we're cutting our forces. It's a huge challenge.
You know, they had done things in a technology sense, Senator, that we could never have envisioned. They have the ability right now to knock out a lot of our satellites. Some are suspicious, as is, you know, Harry Kazianis, about what they're doing on the moon. It's very secretive there. So we can, you know, get you paranoid here. Others have seized on what Harry has been saying and saying, well, it's self-destruction. If they go after us and launch a surprise attack, they know we'll respond many times folding, and that it will be the same result that Japan experienced. I'm not so sure that comparison is accurate, but what do you think?
Well, here's the bigger issue that's the good news. In terms of major strategic advantages over our adversaries, be it Russia or China, we still have great strategic advantages. What are they? We still have an incredibly professional, lethal military. We have energy resources and natural resources that Xi Jinping dreams of. We have an incredible network of allies that are a huge source of American strength. We have a very dynamic economy, and we have this, Neil, a commitment to liberty in democracy. Now, that might sound quaint, but as you know, Xi Jinping and Putin and the Ayatollahs in Iran, they fear their own people. That is a huge area that we need to exploit over the years. If we strengthen these areas of comparative advantage, we can take them, but we shouldn't be undermining them, which is what we're doing in a lot of areas, especially with regard to the military.
You know, there is a camp of people who worry about the Chinese, starting a war with us because the time and the moment is right. Now, a lot of people go back, senators, and say, well, they're in a world of economic hurt right now. A lot of their factories are slowing down. Their real estate is a mess right now. It's crumbling. So we sort of take comfort in that, saying, well, they're too messed up to do anything like that. Is that dangerous?
Oh, you look at history, and you know this, Neil. When dictators are having problems at home, they often divert attention by creating overseas invasions, by invading their neighbors. So there's a long history of when things aren't going bad at home, that they take it out on their neighbors. So I think we need to be very vigilant, especially now. Xi Jinping has stated he wants to be ready to invade Taiwan by 2027. And so vigilance now is critical. And by the way, the best way to have deterrence in the Taiwan Strait is to be strong, not weak. Weakness will encourage certainly more adventurism from the Chinese.
Yeah, and when you assume timing is not right, it was the Japanese ambassador to the United States that was meeting in Washington with his counterparts only days before the December 7th attack. So you don't take comfort in that either. Senator, very good seeing you again. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.